Well, the Dr. Disrespect stuff has just got very interesting because Dr. Disrespect has told his side of the story and the allegations, and to be honest, from what I can see, it seems pretty valid.
For almost 4 years, champs, the public demanded to hear from the doc regarding the Twitch suspension. I guess since you all missed the point with my personal statement, maybe it's time to tell my side of the story. Huh, champs? You see, there was a lawsuit pending, and as part of that arbitration, all parties were not allowed to speak publicly about the case.
So already, when these allegations came out, I did kind of question, well, if it was as severe as people were making out, why did Twitch agree to just not talk about it, kind of thing? Um, I mean, you'd understand in that situation why Doc wouldn't have wanted to discuss that, but why would Twitch not want to? You know, if they've banned somebody for doing, for talking to underage people, if that's what happened, um, why would Twitch be covering that up,
I respected those rules.
It's true, to be
My
fair.
lawsuit against Twitch was eventually resolved, as you all know.
So that bit's interesting. So it was resolved. It was all done. Obviously, we know this because it happened in 2020. 4 years have passed. It was all settled. It was done. But this is before he got banned, I believe.
But even then, as part of the settlement, all parties were still prohibited from speaking publicly about the case or the settlement.
So even after that, neither Twitch, anyone that works with Twitch, or anyone on Doc's team or Doc were not allowed to discuss it publicly.
However, if one side violated that confidentiality, then the other side could respond. And again, champs, again, I respected all the confidential obligations. But apparently, Twitch's own disgruntled employees didn't feel the need to abide by those same obligations. Cody Connors, ex-Twitch employee, wasn't even involved, leaks Twitch's...
I think that's interesting as well. He says that the person that's leaked it, this Cody guy, wasn't even involved in the whole matter. So I do think that's interesting. I think that adds to, Doc's proof and Doc's side because, realistically, if you're not involved, how can you comment on it,
reported reason. Years later, Cody, why do this?
It's true as well, isn't it? Like, it's been quiet for 4 years. Admittedly, 2020, I'd say about 3 years because 2020 people would have still been asking, like, oh, how come you're not on Twitch? How come you got banned? But to bring it up, like, 4 years after it happened to, like, escalate this makes very little sense, if any sense.
What was the point? This was settled professionally.
And by the way, this again supports what Doc's about to say in a minute because with him saying that it doesn't really make sense, but he basically says, you'll see it in a sec, but he says that basically he was being targeted and treated differently. This backs that up because why would you bring it up 3 years later,
You knowing how black and white the internet is, you decided, you fucking rat, to leak the reported reason Twitch banned me in 2020. For what? Cody, why? Did you not know the repercussions from spewing lies about the two-time? Did you not know the repercussions of accusing me, Cody Connors? You see, you don't know shit, and it was obvious from your tweet. You didn't have any firsthand knowledge of my dispute with Twitch. You said that I got banned from Twitch because I was sexting a minor through Whisper's messages? Do you even know what the legal definition of sexting is? I do. And yeah, I used Twitch's Whispers, but trust me, I wasn't sexting anyone. You also said the word minor, Cody. I even made sure that word was emphasized in my statement, edited, etc., just to make sure these so-called journalists would pick up on it.
That's also interesting because at first when I heard this, I was kind of like, okay, well, that doesn't really make sense. So basically, because there was a lot of confusion when Doc put out his statement. There was a lot of confusion because he edited it a few times. Now he's saying here that he deliberately used certain words to basically catch these journalists out and to maybe sue them eventually, is what I've seen. But I don't know if he explicitly says that. But I mean, listen, if he did, it's kind of smart in a way.
And boy, oh boy, did they ever, champs. When you and all these so-called journalists, Cody, fired off your tweets, did any of you consider that the Twitch user may have been over the legal age of consent at the time of the messages?
So this is interesting as well, and I've actually got it noted down as part of the summary. Um, Basically, there was no investigation, at least according to Doc. Obviously, Twitch, we don't really know their side because they're not going to come out and be like, oh, this, and this, right? But from what he's saying, it does kind of add up with how this situation's been handled in the sense of, nobody's looked at the age of consent from, the individuals, wherever they're from, right? Wherever they were when they got the messages, wherever they were born, kind of thing. So nobody's looked at that. So for all we know, Doc could have been just messaging another person, an of-age person, And by the way, now that I'm thinking of it, I swear we have not. Did we ever get a confirmed age? Because this is the bit that's confusing to me. I don't recall ever seeing a confirmed age of this apparent person that was on the other end of Doc's messages. I don't think I ever saw that. Correct me if I am wrong, but I personally have no recollection of seeing a specific age that this person apparently was. So, I don't know, but so far, look, it adds up, man.
You didn't. Neither did any of these journalists, and neither did Twitch at the time of the ban.
So that's interesting because for Twitch to ban Doc, obviously, doing what Doc is accused of is definitely, obviously, a bannable offence. It should be it's a legal thing. But it is interesting that nobody followed that up. Nobody looked into it properly. And he goes into more depth in a second, but it's just Twitch does not look good here.
You also tried to tell the world that I was trying to meet up with this user at TwitchCon, but you're wrong. Let's set the record straight. I never intended to meet this user ever. We never made plans to meet at TwitchCon or anywhere else, and in fact, we never met in person ever. Your bullshit accusations gave false courage to other former Twitch employees to make shit up as well. I suspect all of you sort of planned and coordinated this attack. These big-time publications, these journalists, these various outlets are sort of just gossip channels now. Don't you think, champs? They act like they're just gossip channels now, without any real journalism and real research happening. They report on all this based on leaks from two former Twitch employees, one of whom was supposedly on the trust and safety team.
That's interesting again, because if one of the people that leaked these messages and leaked this whole thing on the safety team at Twitch, surely actually then, regardless of if you're still employed or not, I'd imagine there's contracts, there's stuff that you're not going to talk about, and it's one of those things. If they're on the legal team and it's been through the legal team, they've found nothing wrong, because if there was something wrong, Doc would have been hit with a charge by now. It's been 4 years, so again, man, it's hard to argue against Doc's points. The only thing you could really argue was, okay, well then the statement was a bit all over the place, but I guess you could say that that's because he was all over the place at the time. I don't know. To be honest, on Twitch's side, nothing about how it was supposed to have been handled, it actually didn't play out like that, if that makes sense. It did not seem like Twitch followed these protocols to actually ban him,
If these anonymous sources worked on the trust and safety team at the time of my Twitch suspension in 2020, then you would hope they would tell the truth. But apparently that's just too much to ask. If these former trust and safety team members, and by the way, I know exactly who they are, actually had firsthand knowledge, then what they conveniently left out is, 1, Twitch's trust and safety team, the same employees that decided to ban me, internally admitted that the whisper messages were not sexting.
So that's massive, because internally the same people that banned him that are on this safety and legal team, you know, internally, if they're saying that like there was nothing done, like nothing wrong, because don't forget the timeline is there was a lawsuit going on that was then settled, and then I think Dr. Disrespect got banned after that. So I think I'm right in saying that. I could be wrong on the timeline of it, but he did have a dispute with them and then got banned. I don't know. I don't really know the specifics in terms of timeline, but if they've basically, the bottom line is, if they've said, look, there's nothing wrong, then there's nothing wrong. It should have been done.
And 2, Twitch's trust and safety team, the same employees that decided to ban me, internally acknowledged that the whispers did not constitute child sexual abuse material CSAM. I'll say it again. Neither I nor the Twitch user exchanged any sexual graphic messages or images.
That's massive, because that's what it was portrayed as. So, and the interesting thing is that the individual that received these messages and was talking with Doc, I don't think ever came forward and said like, oh, you know, he did this, this, and this. Remember, this is just coming from the Twitch employees. This isn't coming from the actual person that received these messages or allegedly received these messages. So, again, it just all seems a bit iffy on Twitch's side.
Cody Connors and these other anonymous sources are trying to paint a picture that I was exchanging sexually explicit messages and photos with this Twitch user. That never happened. I even used the word inappropriate purposely. And look at how it's defined by everyone, champs. Huh? Including these defaming articles. I'm sorry, but mutual bantering with inappropriate jokes taken out of context should have never led to me getting banned from Twitch in the first place. I mean...
So this is interesting because he's saying, you know, that he was bantering him, and that's why he used the word inappropriate, but also to kind of bait these journalists into making these headlines. And he used the word defaming there, so I imagine that's where people have got the thing of like, oh, so we could sue them then for defamation. So, I mean, kind of smart if that's the case and he wins the cases, if he actually is suing them, fair enough. But he does say that, you know, it was bantering and not like, you know, because remember in his Twitter like statement, he pretty much admitted it, or at least that's the tone everybody got, and was like, oh well, he's just admitted it. When now he's saying that basically he did only admit to messaging them, not messaging them inappropriately, but he used that word because of the banter that they were having, kind of thing.
How would each of you look?
This bit I find interesting as well, actually.
Text messages, your chats were looked at, dissected, and taken out of context by someone who's deliberately trying to find something inappropriate in those words.
So he's saying there how, you know, how would anybody look if your messages were taken out of context? And listen, you know, we've all got lads group chats, you know, we've all been there. You know, there's some stuff that gets said that wouldn't get said in public. And not to this extent, but you know what I mean. And, you know, he's actually got a point there, Doc. And he's basically saying that people were out to get him. And to be honest, when he goes more in depth, it kind of adds up with that, I can't lie.
And this is not a situation where a victim publicly accuses someone of wrongdoing. That never happened here.
This again is interesting. Remember, this is coming from Twitch, ex-Twitch employees. So they don't even work for Twitch anymore. They were working with them at around this time. They might not have been directly involved. But this alleged victim never came forward, never said that there was any wrongdoing. At least not from what I've seen. I think it would have been a big thing if they did. So, again, it's very interesting, man, how Twitch have kind of acted even though the individual, you know, wasn't coming forward and saying like, oh, there's something wrong, you know?
We're talking about allegations that Twitch made against me as a half-baked reason for justifying their actions of suspending and shutting down my channel. Allegations that Twitch made without even a legal analysis of whether the whisper messages were legal.
Again, it backs up the point of Twitch have not handled this in any sort of like system or like, you know, oh, this has happened, so now this must follow, and then like, you know, there's no structure to it, which is baffling. If there's been no legal investigation, that would imply that there is no wrongdoing and no legal investigation needed, you know? But then he's still been banned for it, and now it's being brought up again as this illegal thing, you know?
You see, I engage with my community. I engage with other streamers. And through Twitch Whispers, I communicate with Twitch users. Conversations that consisted of a variety of playing games and gaming politics, content creation, random stuff. This was the extent of my whispers with this Twitch user. On June 21st, 2020, my ex-Twitch partner manager learns that I exchanged whispers with the Twitch user. And I say ex-partner manager because for years, this guy didn't do anything for me, my community, or my channel. For years. I'm talking no front page love. You're talking about the face of the platform, right? Literally. The face of the platform. And I know Champions Club remembers this. We got zero front page love on the website. He was never on my channel. He didn't follow me on Twitter. He wouldn't even inform us about Twitch rival tournaments. We're talking about the two-time Twitch rival tournament. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you want to play in it? We got zero support from this guy. And it was just so obvious that he carried a grudge against the two-time. So after...
There's still a bit I don't understand, though. Like, I understand kind of accusing this guy of not really doing his job. You know, look, I'm not a Twitch partner. I don't know what a partner manager is meant to do, but I would imagine it is basically what Doc just described. Like, maybe try and get them on the front page. Maybe try to, you know, inform them actually on time of, like, tournaments to compete in. And, like, especially when it's Twitch's own thing, you know? But I don't know if that's enough to say that he had a grudge, unless something else happened that Doc hasn't said. But I don't know. I don't see why someone would just all of a sudden have a grudge on you, you know?
After we signed with Twitch in 2019, we asked for a new partner manager. And just a few months later, that ex-Twitch partner manager is directly involved with getting me banned.
So this is interesting now, because it could be coincidence, but, you know, the timing of it does seem a little off. But, I mean, most of this on Twitch's side does anyway. I mean, I said when this very first came out, I said, well, why would Twitch agree to a settlement to basically not uncover the truth if Dr. Disrespect was doing this with underage people, you know? So that never sat right with me.
Coincidence? The Twitch user tells the ex-Twitch partner manager that they do not want to report anything to Twitch. I'll repeat that sentence one more time just in case anybody missed that one. The Twitch user tells this ex-Twitch partner manager that they do not want to report anything to Twitch. But this ex-Twitch partner manager encourages the user and even directs them to file a report directly with Twitch, even though the user told him clearly that we never physically met anywhere and that no photographs were exchanged.
So that's massive, again, because I mentioned it earlier. The person that has received these, that was messaging Doc and was, you know, that these messages have come from, they never wanted to, you know, pursue this and be like, you know, okay, Doc did something wrong, you know, so, but then Twitch has kind of said, no, I think you should, and kind of pushed them to this, because, I mean, Twitch would have known, like, or at least the employees would have known that they're not going to be able to get anything done if this person doesn't file a report, you know?
On June 24th...
Again, just from Twitch's side, man, none of this seems to add up. Like, Doc's, like, the way he's laying things out, like it sounds accurate. Like, it seems factual. Whereas it's been all over the place, man.
4th, 2020, Twitch's Special Operations Team receives and reviews the user's report. They find no issues and determine that it did not warrant any further escalation to Twitch's law enforcement response team.
That's possibly the biggest thing to come out of this. It never was seen as an issue to be escalated to the legal team. So again, that's just saying that Doc did nothing wrong, man. Like, there was an investigation, people looked at it, but it didn't need to be escalated. There was no punishment needed, and it didn't need to be escalated, which it wasn't. It should have been done, man.
That would have been the end. That should have been the end. But that partner manager, oh boy, did he had it out. He had it out for the 2-time. He finds out that no further action will be taken, so what does he do? He personally escalates the report to a friend on the Twitch's LER team. The LER team, remember, that's the Twitch's law enforcement response team.
So the ex-partner manager of Doc apparently escalated it to a friend on the legal team, which, again, with how messy this has all been on Twitch's side, it kind of adds up, because it does imply that it didn't reach any higher ups, in the sense of it being like a step-by-step process, of like actually ending up at the goal of like, okay, Doc has done something wrong. There was no procedure, there's no step-by-step process, it seems, at least for this specific scenario. Like, everything Doc's saying seems very specific, so I don't think he's lying about it. But I know the internet will have whatever opinion they come to.
He escalates the report to a friend on Twitch's LER team. So a day later, on June 25th, the LER analyst pulls the entirety of the whisper messages and begins discussing them with his director of the LER team. Mind you, this director is on vacation at that time and does not have access to their computer or work files. Let me just remind you, I went through a multi-year, a big-time arbitration, okay? And, you discover a lot of stuff. Mind you, this director is on vacation at that time. The LER analyst cherry picks and sends a few targeted excerpts out of context from the whisper messages to this director.
Again, this is just supporting the whole thing of, like, it seems like Doc was treated very poorly in this situation. Like, if this director's on vacation and he's only being sent, like 3 messages when there's, let's say, 10 pages of messages, if he's only being sent 3 pages and they all look bad, then of course he's going to act off of what he's seen, because if he's not got access to his computer, of course he's not going to be able to check all of them. It's lazy from Twitch. They should have something in place to avoid situations like that, but again, it seems very sloppy from Twitch.
Now, if you do this, you can make anyone's messages look inappropriate, even when they aren't.
That is true. Again, saying that, like, basically, if you take them out of context, if you single out certain things without the bigger picture, then they could look misleading and, look inappropriate.
Within less than 1 hour, this LER analyst and his director have made the decision to suspend me from Twitch. Twitch submits a report to NCMEC. You guys all read those little articles, huh? The NCMEC. Twitch submits that report.
So that is apparently the report was sent to the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children. Just for context, that's what that abbreviation is.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
There you go.
Guess what? As far as I know, and over 4 years have passed, they didn't do anything with the report.
So even they didn't take any action. So again, supporting that thing of there was no wrongdoing. Remember, it's a 4-year process. If there was something wrong with the messages, it would have been settled in 2020. We wouldn't be sat here talking about it now. And I, for the life of me, don't know why we are sat here talking about it now, but here we are.
As far as I know, they didn't escalate Twitch's report to law enforcement. Mind
I mean, I know he says, as far as I know, but I mean, if they had, he would have been arrested by now. You know, if there was actually something severely wrong with these messages and, you know, inappropriate, then, like I said it earlier, he would have had a charge by now.
you, the same people that made this decision admit internally that the messages did not constitute sexting. The same people that made this decision at Twitch admit internally that the messages did not warrant any child sexual abuse material charge. Twitch makes this decision to terminate my contract and ban me while admitted they did not perform any legal analysis of whether the messages exchanged were illegal in any way.
So there was no legal analysis, which is baffling because for something this serious, I mean, it makes you question, you know, what else has Twitch handled this poorly? Like, you know, that maybe somebody has, you know, experienced and gone through, and then Twitch have kind of just gone, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, you know? Like, I don't know, they've just very poorly managed this entire situation.
Twitch makes this decision to terminate my contract and ban me while admitting that they never investigated the age of consent in the jurisdiction where the user's messages were sent and received. Twitch makes this decision to terminate my contract and ban me without ever interviewing me, the user, or any other third party, including the partner manager. It's fucking unbelievable! I'm not going to get into every detail regarding my legal case, but these former Twitch employees that claim to have firsthand knowledge, they just don't have a clue. They didn't report any facts. The judge in the case determined that the whispers were not illegal.
So again, this is back to the original court case, the original dispute, right? So the judge has seen these messages and said they're fine. There's nothing illegal about them. So which again, to me now, right, and this might be controversial. I don't know because people are going to have their own opinions. To me, it seems like Doc has done absolutely nothing wrong. You know, if you look at it, the person that was on the receiving end of these messages has never filed a complaint, never said they were inappropriate, never come forward and been like, hey, this is wrong. Okay? Two, Twitch never, you know, well, Twitch looked into it, but then found that there was no wrongdoing. A judge has looked at it and said there's no wrongdoing. And then a settlement was reached. That was all done. It should have been done and dusted, which Doc thought it was. And then here we are 4 years later, sat talking about it. I'll be honest, it just makes Twitch look awful, or at least the Twitch employees. And even Twitch as an organisation, I don't know what they're like now. Obviously, 4 years has passed. Maybe they've improved. Maybe they've got worse. Maybe they've stayed the same. I don't know. But everything points to Twitch mishandling this massively. And it does seem like individuals have caused all of this disruption when there shouldn't have been any. And look, as far as I'm concerned, Doc's done nothing wrong here. At least from what he's saying. Obviously, I don't know because, again, I'm not involved. So there's always something that maybe isn't being said or, you know, whatever. But from what it sounds like, Doc shouldn't have been banned.
So then why did Twitch use these messages against me? Why did Twitch treat the doc so differently from their other streamers? I mean, outside of the obvious. I mean, just take a look at me. Hey, unfiltered. The realest motherfucker in this industry. 6'8", gorgeous, athletic, successful, college degree, college athlete, bourbon business, gaming studio, beautiful family. And trust me, we've worked hard for over a decade to improve as a person, a husband, and father, and to get where we're at today. I mean, I'm in such a good place today. And all these people, they all act like they're just so perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. Sometimes I do. But I also didn't do all the shit that they're saying I did. But then that doesn't make a story, right? They wanted media attention. The media wants controversy. And by sensationalizing all of this with big, inaccurate headlines like sexting and sexually explicit, you all got what you wanted at the expense of the tube time. The reality is, they wanted to cut down the doc. Plain and simple. Take a look at some of these horrendous acts of Twitch streamers that were never banned. I've got some examples.
Okay, this bit, it's not as relevant, but I think this is Doc just showcasing that he was treated very differently compared to some other situations. Now, he doesn't name names, but look, people will take that as like, oh, well then he could have just made these up, but if you actually listen to how he describes them, they seem very specific. So, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, make your own judgments.
Examples right here. Example number 1. A streamer that frequently used the N-word while publicly streaming, which constitutes a violation of Twitch's policies if accompanied by hateful intent. Twitch scheduled a meeting with the streamer to ascertain his intent to determine whether his content was a violation of Twitch's policies, ultimately determining it was not a breach of Twitch's policies. Why wasn't I called into a meeting?
Again, this is just the kind of lack of a system. Although I say that, they did, obviously, it went in front of a judge, but I think that was more from Doc initiating that than it was Twitch initiating that. So there was no like step-by-step protocol, as I've said, to like, handle this. Like Doc said, he was never called for a meeting to discuss it. He was never questioned on it. It was just Twitch seemed to just be forcing this issue,
Why wasn't my intent taken into consideration, champs?
It's a good point. Like, why, when other things for a lot less, not saying that situation specifically, but people get banned for a lot less, like, you should at least, like, have your side of the story heard, like, so whether that is a meeting or whatever, like, why wasn't Doc given that when other streamers have been given that?
Example number 2. Streamer was reported for discussing doing things with deceased animals and discussing pedophilia, all while live streaming. Never suspended, but instead given a multi-million-dollar contract.
So, I mean, look, I don't know who he's talking about here in any of these, to be honest, because they could be anyone, but they seem very specific. So it makes me believe that they are true stories. So, again, make your own judgments, but Doc's defending himself really well here, I can't lie.
Example number 3. Streamer was reported for a sexually explicit stream involving children and telling children to send Snapchats of them playing with themselves. Never suspended, but
I feel like I did see something about that. I don't know who it was, but I feel like I remember a time when that was a thing and I saw like a headline of something of that, but again, I don't know names. Doc doesn't mention names, so again, they seem very specific.
Instead, given a multi-million-dollar contract. It's so obvious that certain Twitch executives, employees involved had personal biases against the Doc and used all of this as an opportunity to terminate my contract. Go back and look at the timing of all this too. The Doc's termination lines up with 2 preferable, profitable, and expensive streamers leaving Mixer.
This is the only bit I don't get, but then I also kind of, I don't know if he's going the direction of, so the 2 streamers, I mean, the only 2 big ones that I can think of are Ninja and Shroud. So assuming he is talking about Ninja and Shroud, is that Doc basically saying, well, I was kind of a sacrifice, so that Twitch could afford to give Shroud and Ninja exclusive contracts? I don't know, but maybe that's the case. I don't know, man. But that one, when I first heard him say that, I was kind of like, well, okay, I don't know how that's relevant. I don't really see the connection there, but thinking about it now, I actually do kind of see the connection, if that's where he's going with it.
as soon as Twitch knew that Mixer had failed, and go look at the timing. These other expensive streamers needed a new streaming platform. So Twitch rushed through its decision to terminate the tube time.
I will say it does seem very rushed because I don't think there's that big of a gap between the settlement happening and then Doc getting banned. Like, I think maybe it was maybe even a few days. I don't know. Again, I don't know on the timeline specifically, but it does seem very rushed.
You see, I shouldn't even be banned from Twitch. It has affected us on so many levels. Back in 2020 and now in 2024. And Cody, Connors, I just have to say it again. Why would you do this? Like I said, this was handled professionally years ago. No fucking wrongdoing. But because of you, Cody, we just lost. Fuck, man.
This is the bit I don't understand either. He says, or at least he's about to say, that obviously he has his own game studio, which he apparently stepped down from, called Midnight Society, and he's now saying that, because of all of this, we've now had to let them go. He doesn't say that they've stepped down. Like, if he'd have said that, okay, they've stepped down, then I'd understand that a bit more, but he says that they've had to let them go, so maybe, I don't know, maybe it is a case of some people didn't feel comfortable working for Doc anymore, working in that studio, so they were kind of like, okay, I'm going to distance myself from this and I should step down, and then they had to go through that process. Maybe it does still add up, but I don't know, I just think the wording there makes it seem like they fired people and had to let them go because of budget-wise, but if we're being honest, Doc isn't strapped for cash, so I don't think that would have been an issue, but...
Unfortunately, we have to lay off people from Midnight Society. Right? Because of you, Cody.
I don't know, maybe that is just, look, I don't know how the ins and outs of it work, but maybe it's actually investors and stuff that, like, where the money's coming from and not from Doc. So maybe actually my point of Doc not being strapped for cash is kind of pointless because it might not even be his money, if that makes sense, if he's got investors and stuff. So I don't know, maybe it does check out.
Through all this, we are where we are. And like a fucking man, I'll accept it. But I don't accept to sitting quietly by and let these idiots attack me with false accusations. No. For all these Doc haters out there too, oh man, the ones that project and project and project and project and worry about everyone else's problems, right? I can't understand that mindset. I could care less. We've always stayed in our lane. But somehow, some way, these people, they just get in our lane. For all you Doc haters, I'm sure you'll dissect all of this and still find a way to publicly criticize me. Do what you need to do. I'll say this isn't for you. This was for my team today, my community, my friends, la familia that have supported me. And I'm not denying the exchange of whispers, champs. I'm not denying that to all of you out there. It looks bad. I have no way of knowing if the Twitch user thought our exchange of whispers was inappropriate. If it was, I apologize.
Again, that's massive because, again, and I can't stress it enough, the person that's on the receiving end that was having these conversations with Doc did not file anything, did not come forward and say, look, I feel uncomfortable, this is wrong, and did not file it to Twitch. Only when Twitch kind of pushed them to make a report did they then do it. So, I mean, it doesn't look like Doc's done anything wrong, to be honest. Obviously, you can never know if this is 100% true because we're not involved, but from what I'm hearing, Twitch have just been really lazy and they've employed some bad eggs, is what I'd say.
All I know is that I never did what Twitch, Cody Connors, or the public is claiming that I did. That's it. I'm not saying anything more about any of this.
All right, so just to sum up, I know this is going to be a pretty lengthy video, I apologise, but I mean, my main summary of this is, you know, he was not found guilty of anything. The individual did not want to file a report. Twitch pushed them to. His old Twitch partner manager was targeting Doc, allegedly, and escalated the messages to the legal team after Doc requested a new manager. Also says that nobody looked at the age of consent where messages were received, which, I mean, if this whole case was supposed to be a thing, that seems like a pretty big thing that you'd want to, check, He also suggests that it was timed with the return of big streamers, maybe, allegedly, Ninja and Shroud. As basically like we'll sacrifice Dr. Disrespect here on Twitch so that we can offer Ninja and Shroud exclusive contracts with big money so that, we keep them around after Mixer failed and whatnot. And then as well was escalated to the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children who took no action. And he also did say in the actual video that we've just watched, did actually say that, it was in front of a judge and the judge said there was nothing wrong. There was nothing illegal that took place. So that's at least 3 phases where there was found of no wrongdoing. So the fact that we're even sat here having this conversation seems pretty pointless. And to be honest, if you ask me, it seems as if Dr. Disrespect has actually done nothing wrong here, because Dr. Disrespect has made a case here that it's hard to argue with. I'm sure people will nitpick at things and be like, okay, well then why did he do this? Or why did he say this? But if you ask me, it doesn't seem like Dr. Disrespect has done anything wrong. Remember, he's not denying, messaging this person. He's just denying that they were, inappropriate messages and that he was exploiting this person, And again, I want to stress, the person in question did not come forward and make a complaint against Doc. Only when Twitch pushed them to did they then file a report, which, listen, I don't know what that Twitch employee would have said to this person to push them to do this, but maybe manipulate them a little bit. I don't know. I don't know specifics. So, I don't know. It's all very interesting though. But let me know what you think in the comments, and yeah.